and I'm going to talk to you today about mastering discussion board facilitation. It's one of my favorite things on my course, and my TGL is actually here, and she knows how much I really like to interact with my students. So I just want you guys to really think about right now, do you know anybody who's been in college recently? Yes? Anybody? And how many of those kids have taken online courses? Okay. What is their initial reaction when they say, I have to take an online course? They're not usually. What are some of their comments? Okay, yep. Right. They like because I wish there was like some partition here, and I was talking to you, and you would feel that there's no connection. But then when I remove the partition and we can see eye to eye, we're going to have an instant connection, right? Eyesight, those kind of things. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Yes. Yes. There's a lack of consistency. Uh huh. Yes. Uh huh. They feel like it's not connecting with who they are or what they're doing, right? Yeah. That's right. Because they think it's just more work or something that they can't fit the time in. I am right now in my master's program at Purdue University, and right now I just finished my class, turned in my final project yesterday, and the discussion boards were a nightmare. Okay, and I have a really hard time with that because like that's my thing, right? And so I'm sitting here as a student and I'm thinking, oh, I wish I could really help this teacher out because this is bad, right? One of the things that happened was she hardly ever got on the discussion board, right? Think about how often you're replying back to your students. And even in like the Purdue handbook, which I've had some that are really great, don't get me wrong. Teachers they are the key element to discussion boards and how they're facilitated correctly. You can set them up with the right questions, everything, but if there's not a teacher on there that is really pushing that discussion along, it is going to fizzle really fast. But in this particular course, literally maybe one post per discussion, okay? Not okay, right? And so anyways, students, as a student myself, that is my mentor. I am paying for that mentor, right? And I want to hear back from them. I want to know what they think about what I'm saying, not just my peers. I want to hear from my peers, but that's not all I want. Do you guys feel that with your students sometimes? Yeah, do you have any thing to say about that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I like that. And we're going to talk about awards too in a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, and in my online degree is in instructional design and technology. So this is kind of my thing, like creating courses, creating learning experiences. And some studies show that instructors, it's not pedagogical of whatever appropriate to post as much. I have not found that in my course. Like you can definitely overrun a thread if you want, but if you're posting appropriately, you're definitely going to enhance that discussion board, right? And I can even tell on weeks, would your students know if you were gone for a couple of days? Would they? Or would they just be like, oh, okay, I'll be back, or whatever. I had a student, I was literally gone for an afternoon, and he's like, hey, Sister Duffin, where are you? And I'm like, I'm here. I am right here, right? But if you're on there and you're engaged with them, they're going to miss you when you're gone. So make them miss you. So let's go ahead and get started. I've created a course, so you can write this down. You can access it whenever you want, wherever you want, on mastering online discussion board facilitation. It has application activities that you can do on your time whenever you want, because I don't think we're going to get through everything. But right now I'm going to show you some things that I do in my course, and we're going to talk about some of those things and key elements. At the end of the course that I've created, I have given you 4 of my scaffolding tools that I use to teach my students, because we're going to talk about building skills in the discussion board that they're going to use later on in their career, because our students, whether we like to think about it or not, are going to be in an online world for a lot of their life, and they need the tools to communicate and discuss in those forms too. Okay, so it's at secretlysuperhuman.com, and then you go to online teaching, and then there's this course right here. We're going to talk about replies to students, using videos, using Web 2.0 tools, creative ideas to incorporate, and scaffolding tools. And then you'll press enter, and then you'll launch the course. Okay? So this learning module will help you to become a dynamic discussion board facilitator. You will build the skills necessary to construct a collaborative learning environment that will be highly motivating for your students. Okay, and then we're going to talk about some case studies here. All right, replies to students. What can you do to create better replies and discussion boards to your students? Watch this case study to find out. So as we watch this, I want you to think about what you can do in your replies to be better.
Here's case study number 1, replying back to your students. I'm going to show you 2 examples on the same topic from different semesters. This was from winter 2017. So the student talked, and then whenever I answered, I asked her a question to get a response. But the question that I asked was just a yes or no question. Try, when you ask questions, to dig deeper. Look up Socratic questioning and try to develop questions that make your students think and dig deeper. So on this one, it says, I love this message. We are to do all things in the likeness of Christ. Have you been involved in the new teaching class discussions at church? It is called Teaching in the Savior's Way. I have loved learning more about how the Savior taught and thinking of ways to incorporate it into my teaching. So it seems like a great initial post, but it asks a yes or no question, and it doesn't really have her dig deeper. So let's go to the second example. Same topic, learning from the example of Jesus Christ. So whenever I talk back this time, it says, excellent initial post. You included examples from the scriptures, from the lesson, and from your life. So I reaffirm the things that they need to be doing in the discussion board for their responses. And as I go through, it's the same topic. I talk about that same class, but this time I leave a link to what I'm talking about so they can find it easily, and a video that goes along with it, and then I teach them there are 4 things they mentioned: invite us to prepare for class, challenge us to live what we learn, follow up on invitations, encourage us to pray, study, and be obedient. Which one of these principles do you think you can apply to this class, and how do you think it will benefit you or the person you are teaching? That is a deep question that she's going to have to really think about. And then I got this as a response. Excellent, excellent. So remember, when you reply back to your students, encourage them with the requirements of the discussion board, and then include links, videos, and ask them questions that make them dig deeper.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the application activity. Okay, remember, you are their mentor, their teacher and leader in the discussion board. The replies you give to your students can either help or hinder the connections created through discussions. Remember, your students will model what you do. So when you start modeling it, if you just say, hey, yeah, that was a great post, they're going to say, hey, yeah, that was a great post, right, to their other students. But if you start doing those things, you'll start seeing some of your students really pick up on that. All right, so on this, I've given you an article from BYU-Idaho on Socratic instruction. You can read through all of these at home and try to incorporate those into your class. Give praise. I've also included a rubric that I use. Now, I hardly ever copy and paste this anymore into my feedback, but there's really great things in here that you can take portions of it and you can give it back to your students, because if they know the requirements, then they're more likely to hit those requirements. okay? And then student see, student do. So write down or think or talk to one of your neighbors one thing that you would like your students to improve on in the discussion boards, okay? And then tell how you could model that. Go ahead, 1 minute. Okay, can I have a couple of ideas for that? Your replies to students, how you want to make those better? Anybody? Raise your hand. Anybody? Nobody? Nobody. How you're going to make your replies better? One thing, or from a couple people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to show you how to get students to do that. My students are like sharing a ton, but it's because you got to show them how, and you got to tell them you want them to. You got to challenge them. What we're going to talk about in videos. Anybody else with replies? Nobody else? Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. Using videos to engage. Okay, your students want to see who you are.
In
They want
this
to see
video,
your
I'm
face.
going to show you many different ways that I use videos to enhance discussion boards. So on this example, I'm going to show you two things that contrast each other. This one is a post from a previous semester where I did not use videos as much. My post says, "Excellent example, Jean. Prayer is essential in decision making. I have been praying a lot lately about certain things. I know that Heavenly Father has an eternal perspective and He knows how I need to prepare for the future. I trust Him. I love Him. Thank you for your examples." It's a good post, but let me show you how to take it up to the next level. This is the same topic during this semester. In this, he talks about the same topic, but instead of just writing back a text post, I chose to do a video. He gets to see my face, he gets to see my emotion, and I get to question him just like I would if I was in a real classroom. So on this post, I start with his actual post. I read through some of the things with him, and then I bounce off of something that he said, and I go online to find more resources on it. For this particular one, I went to lds.org. Then I highlighted certain things in the talk that were important, and at the end of the video, I challenged him to answer some questions about what was in lds.org. This is a much better way to show your presence, to help your students connect with you, and to help them dig deeper with the material. Another great way to use videos is to do a whole class discussion. This is where you can teach your students about something and help them dig a little deeper. On this particular whole class discussion, I taught about time management, and I post a video where I am teaching on my whiteboard how to schedule your time, or one way that they could manage their time. Underneath, I list different tips on how to do that more effectively, and then I challenge them to pick one of these tips and tell me how you can use that skill to help with time management in your life. So you can use videos to help teach, and like you're right there in the classroom with them. My students love this. Another way that I use videos is to teach my students how to do some of the things that I'd like them to do. So I usually post these into the questions and conversations discussion board. But this week, one of my students wanted to post a PowerPoint presentation. So in order to do that, they needed to embed that PowerPoint presentation into the discussion board. And they had to make that PowerPoint into a Google Slides document so that it could be shared on the web. So I shared a video on exactly how to do that so my students had the tools to be successful. Another way that I use videos in the discussion board is I post my announcement for every week in the discussion board so that my students can comment back and ask questions. Because if you just post it in your announcement section, they can't talk back and forth with you. There is no connection there at all. So if you post it in your announcements and in the questions and conversations in your discussion board, you will get questions from your students or things that they like or need help on, and you will definitely have more connections this way. The last thing I'll share for this video is how to get your students to use videos as well, because they're so effective for the instructor to create connections using videos. The same is true when your students start using videos. They get to see each other, you get to see them. I really, really want to stress the fact of how important it is to be able to see each other online to create connections. Here are some examples of my previous students using videos to create connections. Discussion boards, they post things where they have their family involved. This one, they sang a song about something that was in the discussion board that went right along with the topic. There's all different ways that they can do it, but you must challenge and encourage them so that they have the willpower to do this. The other thing that you can do with videos is ask a mentor or an expert in your field of study to create videos that you can post on your discussion board to help the students learn even more. That expert might be you, or it might be somebody in the field. Have them create a video about your topic that you're studying and post that on the discussion board for the students to dig deeper and then to connect with on that subject. Videos are an excellent source to enhance the discussion boards.
Okay, why don't you turn to your partner and talk about one of the ways that I use videos and how you want to incorporate that into your class. So,
Conversations board.
my announcements? Yeah. So I,
The actual board for that week.
I,
That's questions and conversations.
yeah. So I put not on the actual discussion board so that they don't, because it counts for points. But I put it in the questions, conversations, and then I get a ton of students underneath it. Yeah. And the easy way to do that is to the HTML code, because I'll show everybody how to do that actually. Okay, I've had a really good question about how I post my announcements into the question and conversations board. On right here, if you go to the discussions list, or if you go to your announcements, okay, I'll go to that. All right, and here's how my announcements look on a normal week. You go up here and you press edit, and then instead of just copying pasting it in this spot here, go to your HTML code. HTML has got to be your best friend as an online teacher. If you don't know how to use it, learn it. Okay, I don't know how to write it yet, but I'm gonna learn. Right? Okay, but right here, you just take this and then you copy and paste the HTML code. And then once you've copied and pasted that, you go back to your discussion board, click the HTML code, paste it in, it's automatically done. No formatting whatsoever. It's great. Okay, what were some of the ideas that you had?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Where you've encouraged students to use video.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Screencast-O-Matic is what some of them use. Is that what you usually recommend?
Yeah, it's really easy. It's free, and it's really easy. So yeah, there's another one that I use that I'll show you in one of my tutorials. I used, because I use an Articulate project to create courses and learning products and trainings. It's way more advanced. And so really keeping it simple, all you have to do is click a button, it's done. And then you can embed it to YouTube or all of those wonderful things. And so it's really easy for them. It's my top recommendation for students to use screencasts. Any other ones on that subject? Mm-hmm. Oh.
So that you record anything that's on your screen or browser. And also one of the nice things about that is if you're doing it for feedback, you can check and see whether they watched your video.
Cool, very cool. You can see on Screencast. I don't know if Loom tells you who watched it, but Screencast will tell you how many have watched it. Okay, so anything else on that part of it? Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, get ready. This is really exciting. Who knows what Web 2.0 tools are? Anybody? Uh-huh. You know what Web, yeah? Tell me. Yeah, answer. Web 2.0? Yeah, so Web 2.0 is pretty broad term. Like, anybody heard of Pinterest? Okay, that's a Web 2.0 tool. Anybody ever heard of YouTube? Web 2.0. Web 2.0 tools are anything that you can use online to communicate, collaborate, those kind of things. Okay? All right, so we're going to use some of
Web
these.
2.0
Okay.
tools
Sorry, it just
are
starts
the
automatically.
key that will unlock your discussion boards. Your students and you are probably using these tools on a daily basis, but now we have to use them to enhance the discussion boards. Here's some examples from my students using Web 2.0 tools. This particular student used an infographic. She took the requirements for the discussion board and put them into a graphically designed document that is easier to read, fun to read, and shares more information than a normal text post would. She met the requirements of the discussion board and then shared pictures of the things that she'd been creating. And then I replied back with a video and we kept sharing. She shared more and I shared more. This was a fun post to read and to be involved with. Here's another Web 2.0 tool that I encourage my students to use. I encourage them to make comics out of their initial posts. This one was talking about how her husband was a great leader in their home. This was so much more fun to read than a simple text document. The students can use online comic makers and then embed them into the post, or they could draw their own, take a picture, and put it into the post. Sometimes it's hard to express emotion in the discussion board, so another fun thing that we've been using are Giphies. You can find these online and embed them in the post so that your students can show more of their personality. Another Web 2.0 tool that you can use is pictures or screenshots of different things the students are using or doing. This student shared pictures of how they diagrammed their scripture study and how it related to the lesson. Another student in this post shared a screenshot of how they studied their scriptures in Spanish and
It might or might not be
in
Portuguese.
English.
I don't know.
Pictures and memes are excellent ways to express quotes or feelings and help to enhance the discussion board as well. There are so many more Web 2.0 tools that I can't show them all here, but my discussion boards are full and enhanced with these amazing tools. So how do you get your students to start using these tools? You have to show them, and you have to model them, and you have to scaffold how to do it. Scaffolding means that you give them the tools to be successful. So in the first discussion board, I create tutorials for my students to learn different Web 2.0 tools and how to use them in the discussion board. So on this first one, create a video for your initial post. I show them how to use the Web 2.0 tool, Screencast-O-Matic, and I have the tutorial right here. So they can click into this and they can learn exactly how to make a screencast, just like I am doing. The next one that I posted in this is creating a comic for your initial post. This takes them to the resource pixton.com, and I give them 3 examples of how to create a comic for their initial post and how to embed it on the discussion board. The next one that I gave them was how to create an infographic. On this one, I took them to the website Pictochart. And then I created an example of what I would like to see for an initial post on the discussion board. And I embedded it into the discussion board for them to see. These are just a few of the Web 2.0 tools and how to scaffold them. But when you give your students the tools to succeed, you will be surprised how many of them will start using these tools.
Okay. All right, so in this part of the course, I provided links to 3 web pages that have lists of different Web 2.0 tools. Because just because I like infographic, comics, and screencast-o-matic doesn't mean that's what's gonna work for you or your class. So I encourage you to go through these links, see what Web 2.0 tools are there, and pick one of them, and then try it in your class. Use it. Have the students collaborate over a different medium, right? How many of them like Facebook? A lot, right? How many of them like going on to Pinterest and looking at different things? Give them something that really clues them into what they're already doing and applies to your class. Kids, they love it. And in fact, the one, Jimma, the first one where we had that post where she shared cooking and different things like that, where she learned something new, we have shared a recipe outside of class every single week since that post. So you really, really, really establish connections with your students. Okay, the next one, scaffolding resources. I've provided 2 examples here, but there's another section entirely where I give you the embed codes that you can take right off of here and put them right into your course. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I came in late, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing we all have access to this.
Yeah. Yeah, Secretly Super, it's my own personal website. I'm building it, so don't like judge it. But anyways, but you just go to the online teaching. This is the only course in the online teaching for right now. And you enter, you'll have access to all of these resources for as long as I keep it up, which will probably be forever. So, all right, now creativity.
Get creative on your discussion board. Nothing is worse than a boring discussion week after week.
I promise you that.
Your
It's been
students will
brutal in my
shut
master's
down.
class.
So you need to change it up and get creative. This document, called Mastering Discussion Board Facilitation by Edutopia, I will have posted in the application activity so you can read through it yourself. But they have wonderful ideas of how to change up activities to keep the students engaged in different ways, such as asking experts, debates, polling, role play, small groups, different assessment strategies, 1-minute papers, graphic organizers, concept maps, reflective journals. There's so many different things that you can do on your discussion board to change it up week to week, and your students will thank you. One thing that I do is a game. I put in a hidden CTR ring in my discussion board each week. I stole the idea from a friend. But I want to encourage my students to read through as many posts as they can. Let me show you what they have to do once they find it. Once my students find the CTR ring, and I usually place it in a student who has a really great post that I'd like more of my students to read, I press, "You found it." Now reply to John's post with the first line saying, "I found it." Make sure to ask questions or deepen the conversation by sharing information from the lesson, experiences, etc. Try and get other students to this post without telling them that the hidden CTR ring is here. So they're encouraged to connect the different posts. They always have a fun time finding this. It's one of my students' favorite things that they comment on. So just get creative. There are tons of ideas. I can't wait to see what you come up with.
Okay, so the reason I got thinking, take things from your life, the things that really make you move towards like learning something yourself. So my kids, I homeschool them, and so every morning we have a daily devotional. And so we break out the friend, we read one article from the friend, we do a song from the whatever they're learning in primary and have a prayer. And every time we break open the friend, they're like, "Where's that CTR ring?" Right? And I got to thinking, I'm like, I bet my students would like that, even though they're almost all older than me. And they do. They love it. They love going to search. But just don't tell your students that they can search CTR in the search button yet. None of mine have figured it out yet. But anyways, but you can if you need to find it yourself if you forget where you put it. But it is really, really fun. And not only is it a little game, but it has a meaning. They need to connect, deepen that conversation. You're reiterating what you want them to do on that discussion board. Okay? And then, let's see. I've also included that document, Mastering Discussion Board Facilitation. It was kind of what I bounced off for a lot of these things from Edutopia. BYU actually has it listed in one of their resources, but it's right here that you can find it. And then I want you to turn to your partner and talk about one way that you might want to change it up next week. Go ahead. Okay, I want some ideas. What did you guys come up with? Anybody? Yep. You got one back here? No? Oh, okay. Anybody else? How are you going to change it up this week? Mm-hmm.
Well, the beginning of the semester, each, like when they do their introduction post, at least for GS120L, which I believe is what you
Yep.
teach,
Mm-hmm.
I did a video and replied back to each student with a video.
Yeah.
I haven't done it since then. I do videos in my announcements, but as far as in my discussion board, I haven't. So that's what I want to do next week is hop back on the video
Yeah.
and do some of my replies back to students
Yeah.
via video.
Great. Awesome.
I like the CTR idea. Can you review how do you do that again?
How do I word it?
No, how do you hide the CTR?
Oh, so I wait till, you got to wait till about Thursday after all their initial, you can do it Wednesday night, but usually about Thursday. Friday is a little too late. Sometimes it happens, though, life gets away from us. But when you post it, you just read through all of their posts, and I try to pick out a different student niche, because it's almost like this badge of honor, boom, you got a post that I want everybody to come see. And so I try to kind of switch it up. So it's praise and it's a fun game all in one. It's as a reply. Yeah, and you got to kind of be sneaky, because if you reply to everything, then do this CTR post, it's at the first, I don't know, there's strategy, but a game strategy. But anyways, yeah, you just pick one, go for it, and then whoever posts underneath that, yeah, anyways, we have a lot of fun. Yeah, so here, I'll show you. After I've posted it, I used to do the whole class discussion later in the week, but now I just post those all at the beginning of the semester. I've made videos for every whole class discussion that I do, and I talk about, I bring in experts on our financial literacy section or whatever with Dave Ramsey, and I bring in a ton of different resources for them to talk about. But on here, I need to go to this one, sorry. So I post this announcement right here. And so I say it's up, and then they have to go find it. And then, let's see, what else was I going to show you guys? Did that answer your question all the way?
How far into the semester? Is it the very beginning you said?
I do it every week, except the initial.
But you explain it in the first lesson 2?
Yeah, usually in my announcement on lesson 2, in my video announcement, I tell them what's going on, and they catch on pretty quickly. Yeah. Screencast-O-Matic. Let's go to the scaffolding resources before we run out of time, and I'll show you that part of it here. So on the course, just go to scaffolding resources. There's a document here, and you can press it down here as well. I've included a Google Doc that you can, which if you guys haven't tapped into Google Docs, slides, all those things, go check those out. They are phenomenal for online collaboration, teaching, all those great things. But you can just copy and paste this, the Screencast-O-Matic tutorial. You can make your own too if you think this is not okay for it. But, because it'll be me with your students. So you either have to explain why there's a different teacher or make your own, okay? So anyways, but I've done one for Screencast-O-Matic, infographic, comic tutorial, and Google Slides. Okay, let me show you how awesome Google Slides is right now before we get to that. I just figured out how to do this week because one of my students, we do PowerPoint presentations for work. It's one of my favorite assignments in GS120L. where they get to share an experience about work. I get to know so much about my students. And they have to share a PowerPoint. Well, I encourage them to use that PowerPoint for their initial post. And let me find Gemma's post here. Right here. Okay, so what she did is she took her PowerPoint, Google Slides, you can get an embed code from Google Slides, and then now everybody can view her PowerPoint without having to click on a link or go anywhere. It's right there. So really cool, you guys. Really cool. Okay, and the scaffolding resource for it is right here. So you press on this.
Hey students,
Here's the video.
I know that you can post
I won't make you watch it, but
PowerPoint
you can go through that. It'll show you exactly how to do that exact thing. Okay, the comics, the infographics, screencasts, all the same thing. Any questions on that portion of it? Yes, that one is going to be a game changer because when you like the infographics are awesome too, but some people are more comfortable with PowerPoint. They use it all the time. And so they could take their initial post, just imagine them taking their initial post, they're creating something, they're using constructivist principles, and they can take those things, that the ideas, and put them into an awesome document that people want to look at, want to read. They can add pictures, and then click through. You're going to see your discussion boards just explode. It's awesome. Right? Are you guys excited about it? Good. I hope so. Okay, any other questions about it? I want to, yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I want you to write this down, this site. And when you go into these, go pick one of these that you want to focus on. Any one of the topics. So let's say, which one do you want to focus on? Okay, so we're going to go to Web 2.0, and then you're going to go to click here for application activities. Right underneath here, I give you, and it doesn't have to be all in the same week. Just browse back to this resource whenever you feel like you're comfortable with one. So yeah, so that you're taking sips out of the fire hose, you know? But find one Web 2.0 tool that you can use on the discussion board this week. So just find one that you're already comfortable with. Create a post using this Web 2.0 tool. Encourage your students to use it as well. That's simple, right? Then leave this for a while, keep the resource, come back to it when you're ready to do something else. But you'll find that it accelerates as you use more because some of the same principles are used along all of it. And then you'll be like, oh, that has an embed code? Yes. I can use it. Who needs me to show you how to embed? Okay, let me show you that right now. So I'm going to go to, let's see, do I have something that I can embed right now? All right. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm just going to show you how to do it at YouTube, okay? All right. Okay, so we're going to pick out, oh, I watched this girl this morning at like 4 a.m. She was really cute. We'll pick her. Okay? Now, when you go on this one, you just go down to share. And you can also, if you're using Screencast-O-Matic, you can, because like on your Nings, I post videos on the Nings, and I got really frustrated because Screencast-O-Matic does not allow you to embed on the Ning, right? Pooey, right? But you can take the Screencast-O-Matic and you can upload it to YouTube, put it as unlisted if you don't want anybody to search it. I always put mine as unlisted because I'm like, nobody else wants to see that. But then you can embed it on the Ning. So you can do that. So then you don't hit the share code. That's just a website. It's just a link. It'll pop up as a link. You go to the embed code, copy that, and then you go over to your course. My students are going to be like, oh, she's on. I told them I was at a conference. They watch me, I promise you. Okay, so we'll put it up here. Start new thread. And down here, this is your magic button, okay? Hit that, paste, save. That's easy, right? Okay, do you want me to do another website? Mm-hmm. Yes, you can do that. I use a lot of the HTML because I add stuff into it. When you advance into your HTML formats and you're copy and pasting a ton of stuff, stick to the HTML. So I encourage you to learn how to use that little button. Because this one will only allow you to embed that, but if you go down to that other one, you can format it, change colors, change fonts. I mean, it gets really intense. I mean, that's how people write web pages, right? So really cool stuff. But is that good on the embed code? Do you want me to do another application? My students haven't complained about it. I have some, like one from last year in Nigeria, he did a lot of YouTube stuff, but he was able to access it. So do you think that, is that worldwide? Did it change? Okay. Less blocked now? Okay. Yes. Okay. I do know on YouTube, though, if you do use YouTube, there's an option underneath it, which I clued into after, but it'll bring up videos afterwards, and some of them could be rather embarrassing. So you just click on, let's see, where is that? Show more. No. Yes, right here. So instead of suggested videos when the video finished, unclick it, and then press the embed code right here, copy and paste. Yeah, I had a really fun one that came up. I was like, yeah, that's great. That's not me. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any other questions on those things?
How much time do you spend on the discussion boards as opposed to the rest of your course? Because I feel like I want to do all this stuff, but I'm like, how do I grade all my papers and everything? As an English instructor, I have no idea in terms of balancing the time.
Sure. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time in my course. I put down that I spend about 20 hours a week, but yeah, but I will tell you, it gets less and less. So when I first started doing things, like my announcements are pretty involved as well. I mean, like everything that I do is pretty involved. But I take them step by step, and I've grown. Like I've been teaching online for 10 years. Not all of those have been at BYU-Idaho, but I have seen online education come from something that I thought was horrid to something that I know is going to be a beautiful thing. And it's still in the works, but like I'm like, oh yeah, this is where it's at, right? And I can see how we can take students, like at the beginning of the course when I asked you, what do they think about online courses, right? Most people are like, right? Not anymore. They're going to be like, oh yeah, right? I get to take an online course from this awesome person from across the world, right? Or next door, okay? It can be anywhere. But just take yourself step by step. Don't push yourself too hard because you'll burn out. But like on my discussion boards, once you get into the groove of it, it takes less and less and less time. But give yourself time. Does that make sense? So at first I was spending like literally like a full-time job developing my course. So like I'm like even like thinking of switching to a different, I'm like, oh, right? Because it's like all right there. I talk to my husband about that all the time because he's like, wow, aren't you only supposed to be working this amount? And I'm like, it's okay. But now it's just like a steam engine.
Once you make all those videos, like
Yeah.
all of her tutorials, then you just use those
Exactly.
semester. If you
Yeah.
start making videos, you just collect them.
That's right. And you don't do that on the discussion board so much, but you get so quick at making screencasts, it'll almost be like second nature. Does that make sense? You'll just pop on, boop, 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 and it's done. Uh-huh. How rad?
Did you do all that stuff in your course?
Oh, yeah. I should bring up my discussion boards. So I'm kind of like that. Like, I don't know if I'd call it a sore thumb or like the like, whoa. Like the like, so I get on there and everybody's like, you're always like got these amazing posts. And I've got like all like, so other posts will have like 2, mine will have like 13, right? Because it engages people. And I use the same things that I'm teaching in my course. And in fact, I get ideas for my students through the process because I know I'm like, oh yeah, I learned that, right? Because even when I have a teacher, just like this semester, who I felt did a poor job in that area, I still learned because I have the tools to do that myself. So that's what we're doing here is we're giving our students the tools, no matter what kind of teacher they have, to be really successful. I learned so much in my course, but it wasn't because of my teacher, it was because of me. And that's what our learning model is all about. Mm-hmm. Oh, in the actual course? It varies. Like Sharon, she kept all of her students this semester, so she has a lot, right?
I have 29
Yeah,
participating
that's a lot.
every week.
She's got a lot on her plate. Yeah.
I say my student cap is 50. It was 60.
Yeah.
Convinced them to lower it because that was successful.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, kind of with the time management, is do you do this for every conversation with every student every week?
No.
Take turns.
Let me show you something else. Like, okay, so those screencasts, like where I take them to lds.org and stuff like that, I pick different things because not every discussion board post, don't force it. Like, think of you standing, like, imagine yourself, this discussion board is your classroom, right? You're up here in front. Like, imagine if I was in an online environment right now, you asked me that question, I'm going to respond back with a particular way, right? But then let's come over here, she asked me a different question, I'm going to respond back to her in a different way. So discussion boards aren't like, imagine yourself, put yourself in that same room with that student and be like, how would I respond back to them? Do they need to see my face on this? Could I write them a note? Does that make sense? Put yourself in a real situation and then respond in that way. But here's a really simple way to do some videos too. I do this a lot when I'm short on time. Okay, and I'm short on time a lot. I homeschool my kids. I'm in my master's program. I run an entire softball league in our town. I do this and I build my house. There's so much on my plate, okay? But that's just like a short list. But on here, you go to this and then so you reply to the thread and then you go right here and you press video note. Instantly brings it up. But this one starts immediately, so you gotta have your smile face on, right? Like there's no 1, 2, 3. You gotta, right there, right? Okay? But this one goes right into it. You don't have to embed anything. You don't have to save anything. You don't have to upload anything. It's not as effective if you're wanting to teach something, but if you're just like, great job, right? On one of my feedback every week, I wish I could show you guys my feedback stuff too. That's fun. But I do a video note for my application activity so they can see me feedback every single week. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. That's right. That's right. It's true. It's true. Time saver. Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel over and over again? I totally agree. Mm-hmm. All right. I think we are at, oh, we have 1 minute. Is there any other questions? Uh-huh. Second one. First one, you're going to freak them out, right? Like, they're going to be like, oh, no. What have I gotten myself into? This time I posted it in the actual discussion board because question conversations was new this semester, right? Yeah, it was kind of, so I was like, I don't know how I want to use that yet. I would probably do it in the questions and conversations now. All the tutorials right in there. Mm-hmm. And if you want to, because it worked out kind of this way because a lot of my students had different capabilities, and so they picked different ones that they like to use, and I see them use those over and over again in the discussion boards. And again, here's another thing that brought up a good question. Don't beat up your students who are just using text. If that's what they're comfortable with, totally okay. Just encourage them to kind of up their game a little bit, but it's okay, it's cool. They'll still participate, and you'll see them at the end kind of start to do things too. But on the, yeah, so I put, you could put like one in lesson 2 and then build it. Okay, let's try an infographic this week. Let's try a comic this week, or let's try using Pinterest for an educational purpose this week, or whatever, right? So, and you'll see some students too, they just don't have time to create something new and they're gonna just post something, and that's okay too. Anybody else? Okay, I just hope that you guys found my excitement for discussion boards and online teaching. I love online teaching. I love it, and I love course development. I love online learning, period. It is the future, and it is blessing lives all over the world. So make sure that when you go in there, you remember that you are their mentor. They want to hear from you. They want to see you. They want to interact with you. So that is all I have for you today. Yeah.